welcome into the Boise State Esports Arena. Tonight, we're getting hyped for NECC Activation Week. Our first game is San Jose State University, SJSU versus Boise State, and then stick around for game number 2, which will be Simon Fraser University, SFU. I'm your host, Colby D'Angelo Alloway, and joining me to call all of the action here tonight, from a distance, of course, is a guest very near and dear to my heart, which is Richard Rickrad Pontillo. So tonight, as we before we get into the real nitty-gritty of the game, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. It's been some time, and it is an absolute pleasure to be here alongside you again. I know it's been a semester or so since you and I have had the chance to work alongside one another, but gaining an award for the work that you do, it's fantastic to be able to see it. And, looking forward to what this NECC Activation Week really has in store for us.
And then that leads me to my next question of what are the advantages of doing well Activation Week?
Activation Week, the biggest thing is really just setting the tone, especially we're going into a new year. There was recent adjustments when it at least came to some of the map dynamics with a patch 2 weeks ago for specifically what we've seen in Valorant, but there really hasn't been too much significant change overall outside of that map adaptation. And now going into this with the type of time that they've had over a break, taking away from the school year, and now entering back into this to really see how they reconvene, what they've really worked on, and develop strategy-wise to bring into this initial week.
Definitely a culture shock to go from Christmas break, to the middle of back in competing to NECC. And something that will help all of these players adjust is Doc's keys to the game. And Doc's keys to the game in Valorant are to focus angles and flank, know your win condition, count cards, and call abilities, and just plain old click heads. And Doc's keys to the game are brought to us by Drop-In Gaming. Drop-In Gaming is the premier online platform for gamers who seek competition. Play your favorite games to win cash and prizes through free and paid entry matches and tournaments. Whether you are new to the scene or a seasoned veteran, Drop-In Gaming has the right games and competition for you. To begin your competitive gaming journey, sign up at dropingaming.com. So to continue our conversation, as we're looking at the map, here's our lineup for tonight. What are these map adjustments that have been made?
So it'll be curious to see which specific map we're going to be going on. It looks like we're going to be going on to Haven first, so we might not get to see the change-ups, but it was more on Split. The biggest focus, at least for that specific map adaptation, was in regards to the attacking side. It allowed some adjustments when it came to some of the sight lines, some of the angles to hold, objective positioning when it came to objects such as box corners, high ground, low ground advantages. So that's the one I'm curious if we're going to have presented this evening, but again, still a very staple map that we're going to be entering on first. As you did mention, we are going to see San Jose State University facing off against Boise State first, and what that's really going to hold for us. And once we actually get into looking at the agents and what they're going to bring to the table here, that's going to start really laying the foundation of our expectations and start diving into what we like to see. There has been still some significance when it at least comes to breach play. We've also seen a lot of utility when it comes to the Killjoy as well, so curious to see if we are going to have that be brought out to the table between one of these two teams.
It looks like Sky. What do you think about that pick?
Sky specifically as an initiator really allows a lot of intel to be gathered. It has that sustainability for, self-healing for the squad, also being able to get some great opportunities with that Hunter moving in. But looking at this, at least from a defensive point of view, Boise State looking to have a 2-2-1 breakup. They acknowledge that there is some fire towards this B position and a very big rush coming out from SJSU.
And now it is Boise State 2-on-2, where our own Jet is looking pretty weak, so Boise State might be in the position where we might have to back up. It looks like currently we're just holding our angles, waiting, and now might be the time to push. But be aware that cornered enemies always fight back.
Yeah, the post plant is challenging, especially when you do have the reduced health, but the fact that you did have J-Bag get one initially onto this point gives a lot of opportunity, making sure that they do check these corners into hell underneath. Can't quite find it, but this raised positioning from SJSU is needing to be very cautious entering into this. They acknowledge where the positioning is. They need to aggress onto it. The bot comes in, gets the pick, but there's the shutdown as well from Skies. The trade goes in favor of Boise State as they do take this round.
So winning with only one person surviving, what do you think that's going to do in terms of economy?
I mean, the biggest thing that they really just need to be aware of is that there isn't a complete elimination coming through. There is that little bit of currency deficit if you do find yourself potentially leaving one player up. So it's actually a benefit in the long haul that they still had everyone get taken down from SJSU. Now going into this, there is going to be a great buy from Boise State, most likely going to get a little bit more into their pocket. They could opt to go for a little bit light in their purchase so that they can look towards that third round for an advantage. But SJSU at this point, knowing that they took that loss, going to go for the eco. They're not going to go into a partial buy, I would even think, and just allow this to happen. As you can already see defensively, a couple of investment shots. Sheriff comes out, gets a quick two-piece. Skies gets 2 eliminated as they press forward for the third.
And it looks like as we kind of go in, that is already 3 down, so only 2 remaining. And the remaining members of Boise State, which is all 5 of them, are just hunting them down. And at this point, if you're Killjoy, you know what's going to happen to you.
Yeah, and again, when it comes to the fact that there is that currency advantage with that first round win, Boise State and this one, a very favorable exchange between the two of them. So that aggressive forward momentum by the jet play from Skies, very consistent. It's something we do see often. Now things are going to get interesting here because there is a decent buy coming out from SJSU and how they're going to fend off against this on the attacking position, and if they're going to waver away from what they've typically looked to do so far as focus towards that mid B or ace position.
It's not going to be like second round where Boise State just has so many more resources that SJSU just gets rolled over. Now we're expecting to see a pretty good fight set up as Boise State hops the jet ultimate and immediately gets taken out.
Yeah, instantly gets shut down. I do like the fact that they were using that early, especially since they did have the triple in that previous round to make sure that they did have the ultimate available, but that very aggressive play costs them. Now, SJSU has the advantage. More methodical and slow movement here from Boise State to where they can find that advantage, and they kind of just have to hold their ground, especially when you see Rihanna making sure on that Killjoy to hold that corner.
And it kind of just looks like Boise State hasn't quite found anything just yet. They are playing the waiting game. And as shots are exchanged and we see Boise State members kind of try to rotate, try to get those engagements, we see some utility abilities committed there, but it looks like actually not a whole lot of information is being found out right now.
No, the guiding light doesn't get anything. There's no sound for them to be able to gain confirmation that somebody is present. And SJSU is really playing the long game here. But the fact is that they only have 35 seconds to go. They need to make interactions with somewhere. And they finally do over towards C. Everyone is communicated. An exchange comes in with a crossfire onto the Killjoy, who held this bunker for the moment. But now, with it a 5 versus 3, this is a tall task for Boise State. Flash comes in. Big damage. Only 3 remaining, but still gets a great paint shell to take down the back line, and now it solely remains on 1 from Boise State to attempt to counteract this. And at this point, they acknowledge this is not a fight that they want to take unless they're going to take a long flank around here and might just look for the save.
It looks like, not the, they tried to go for the save, but it looks like Con found them out there. SJSU, how are they looking in terms of being able to buy more than Boise State?
I mean, the fact that they at least were able to keep this consistency with their buy, they knew that they had the numbers advantage, they wanted to let Boise State feel a little uncomfortable, and the biggest factor is SJSU took advantage of this because with how aggressive Boise State has been, they played back and waited for them to walk into the Lion's Den. It already worked once, and they thought it could work even further, but at this point now with Boise State having to sit back idly, waiting for where they were going to engage, it was only a matter of time for SJSU. And I'm curious to see if they're going to do the same thing.
Ooh, it looks like we're bringing out the big guns here. Of course, it is Skies on that. Currently just holding sightlines, waiting for somebody to peek, as you do. Nobody's been found just yet. We don't hear any shots fired, no abilities. Oh, just as we see somebody going to go ahead and take down Jarger. That is Boise State up 1.
And this is where SJSU, I don't think, was ready for it. They saw 2 consecutive rounds going aggressively into this. SJSU now at this point looking for a couple of shots themselves, but this jet op is being really oppressive for anyone pushing into this. The smoke comes in towards that B area. There's a third shot as well. Sky's really grabbing hold of the value that this op can bring into this, and now it's solely 1 remaining. A nice crossfire comes through, flanking maneuver through that B position, and we'll be able to take this round.
So what does SJSU need to do to turn this around?
I mean, it's a tough one. Their biggest thing right now, they know now that they're going into the operator, specifically by Skies, and they've also evaluated that there is really, really great angles being obtained, and the shots are not missing. So now on entry and what they're looking to provide into this, again, at the deficit, have to now look for a rebuy, potentially going to maybe attempt that C position, but it's so worrisome because of that long sightline down C long. A, I would think, is maybe the best opportunity for now, especially because it would have to force Skies to play aggressive. But if they do play towards that A position, it's a big advantage for them, but all a game of chess.
And that also would put Skies in the position of getting punished for that aggression, which is the one round that SJSU was able to take off of Boise State. They popped the Jettle and then immediately went in. I mean, as you do, of course, with the Jettle. You go in as far as you can to get as many eliminations as you can, but SJSU predicted that. And I think now that we've seen a little bit of the Jet op, I think they know to be afraid, so I would be surprised if they pushed C.
Only time will tell here for us, as it looks like we do have a brief pause for the moment, most likely potentially either a connection or technical pause potentially called out for it. But this is one of those moments where if they do confirm that it's a tech pause, that you can kind of discuss how you want to go into this. Sometimes there's a lot of early round needs of saying, all right, we've lost the pistol round, that's fine. We recover with a nice eco, get back into this. They've found themselves at a deficit again and really need to communicate how they want to enter in on this. You can already see some intel being gained over by C long and pressing up towards this window. Could look to fall back for the moment with that smoke there from the Omen. A lot of spray and pray through the window, but no chip damage comes through. So there's still now hesitancy by Boise State because they don't want to commit to anything.
Looks like Rihanna is going to back away from the smoked window and just hold that corner there. The members of Boise State are actually not playing aggressive. They are fully waiting for SJSU to come to them, it looks like.
They're attempting to bring out a lot of utility here. There's been a couple RDUs from Boise State, so hopefully SJSU can get a little bit more out of Boise State for them to take advantage of this. There's the second smoke now into the window, blinding that position to maneuver through the choke point. Skies gets one and a beautiful flank. They don't keep the window. The smoke is just denied entirely by dropping down below, and now it's just a waiting game for the final two. At this point, since the spike hasn't been grabbed just yet and it's not left out in the open, they have to rush to A from SJSU.
And it looks like we have that Omen watching the A in particular. Ooh, and it looks like Rihanna's going to get a 4-piece there. Killjoy carry?
I mean, really, it's just being able to maintain these angles. And the biggest part of this is SJSU, they had the idea that they wanted to give it enough time that they can re-enter into this position, but found themselves once again at the short end of the stick. I really would have liked to see a type of rotation going away from where a lot of the action was, even though it is two of them. If they get that plant, they look for an angle onto the spike, they hold a cross angle and try and force all of Boise State to transition over to compete against it. Unfortunately, they wanted to stick with their original plan, and understanding this type of adaptation and how they want to change their strategies is going to be something to really keep an eye on moving forward for this, because so far right now, Boise State does have very significant control of this matchup.
They also kind of played like the smoke was a wall, like you couldn't just, you know, walk through it and immediately come up on your right and flank through, which is exactly what Rihanna did to such great success last map.
And when it comes to the tactical dynamic of that, it's a lot better for you to put the smoke closer to the parallelness of the window, because it doesn't give as many angles for the aggressor through the smoke to maneuver around, because you can hug that sphere, gaining different positions of accessibility into a small room like that. So there's a number of different things, not only strategy-wise as a whole, but also the microplay to really keep an eye on here, while Boise State continues to maintain their position and see how SJSU is going to enter in.
We do see that Jet over on point A instead of on point C, which is an interesting tactical decision here. It looks like they might be rotating over through B and possibly back to C. Ooh, we found at least somebody. They're going to go ahead and take down Con. That is Boise State up 1.
Yeah, Skies gets the shot. Same thing comes through with the follow-up. Great nano swarm to get that elimination since they've been clustered on top of it. Aldum gets that sustainable healing, as I mentioned earlier, and what the Sky can bring to this composition, especially if you do have a lot of that damage either being mitigated or not getting very aggressive plays by SJSU. Lockdown comes in, makes this extremely challenging for SJSU as another pick comes in, and unable to do anything when they are locked in the midst of that ultimate from the Killjoy.
right in between B and C. There was no escape. They're locked down the entirety of B and some of the routes into point C there as we go into our next buy phase.
It's going to be an interesting position because when we talk about a lot of the utility that's been used, the ultimate as well, you did have the Killjoy with the lockdown, the Jet ultimate most likely back online. Omen here as well, you can see has that from the shadows as well. Curious how SJSU is going to look to do this. If they want to lead in potentially with a lockdown of their own, they want to potentially go with a Rolling Thunder in the smoke. The shot is denied. It's a 1-for-1 trade, but they've lost the operator, which is significant now for SJSU. They get a great wall bang as well on the mirror. This is the do or die moment. They lead in further as J-Back rotates around. The nano swarms are chipping away at the health value, so it's still a 4 versus 3 with a decent health. You can see at the map, it's blinded now, looking for this reposition. Shock comes out. Gera is rotated. All of SJSU has taken a different position, but now it's all up to 2. And this wide flank from Aldum, who is sought out now, specifically with that bot.
And it looks like Boise State at this point is just trying to kind of play out and stay alive here. We need to make sure that the op makes it to this next round. No, it looks like they're going to go on the aggressive there, and Aldum is going to get punished for that by Khan. And J-Bag is the final remaining member of Boise State. Good luck to you, my man.
Good luck indeed. Somebody must have a really, really big fortune cookie. Change the outcome of this. Unfortunately, it is going to crack and be empty. I've actually had that happen once where I did have a fortune cookie with no fortune inside of it, and I was probably the saddest camper in the world, so I know that feel right there. I know that feel.
You know the feel of being 1v4. You're like, yes, exactly. I opened a fortune cookie once. I know exactly how you feel, J-Bag.
Yeah, the emptiness of a fortune that was not there. But again, Boise State's still in the driver's seat for the moment, giving a little bit of leeway here for SJSU as they will look to try and reconvene and gain this momentum. They've gotten the round. They've taken advantage of Jet. They've not allowed this op to be as dominant round after round. So if they can do the same tactics here, very aggressive positioning, you can already see intel coming through and going to hold this corner for now from Boise State. And waiting to see if anybody's going to push into either A long or C long.
And it looks like we've got the Omen there to scout out C. It looks like most of Boise's kind of centered around B with the exception of Sky, who is holding point A. And it looks like Jet is going to rotate through point B over to maybe some C checkpoints there. No, just going to kind of check the small corridors, hold those sites. Boise State doesn't know where SJSU is coming from right now.
Skies is playing a lot more further back as well, so this is an opportunity for SJSU if they want to try and take an engagement. Opportunity for crowd control for the moment, but there is going to be a quick tremor through the wall. Smoke denies any visibility, goes back for the reload, sticks close to Skies. Aldum right there to assist, but still no forward momentum here from SJSU.
And it looks like Boise State is repositioning. We see Omen leaving point C, kind of rotating all the way through long over to A. No, changed his mind. He's going to kind of go back to B there. Killjoy just holding
30
strong
seconds left.
point B as Skies rotates off. We do see the ultimate committed. J-Bag is kind of in the thick of it right now as the map blacks out.
Trailblazer gave all the intel needed for this beautiful follow-up, despite the counter with the ultimate from SJSU blinding their sight. But because there was that Trailblazer that gained visibility on 3 before its usage, gave so much for Boise State to take advantage of it. We can probably get a replay of that here after using it. Trailblazer in the map just before the smoke comes in, so they have full knowledge that 3 are there. Looks to hold out the corner. Beautiful flash onto 2, and that's a clean up by J-Bag.
Fantastic work there. The counter ult came out just a hair too late there, and J-Bag punished them all for it. Skies did not end up getting, as much value, and the value is comparative to like triple kill, quad kills. Skies, it looks like they're not going to play. It looks like they're playing much more aggressive this round, which historically either ends up going very well or very poorly.
No, you didn't.
Skies is insane with that op there, and I really think that this is going to give Boise State the leg up they need to be aggressive, push, and take the round.
That's what I call putting salt in the wound.
Oh,
if they look at that replay afterwards, they're probably kicking themselves saying, no, this is a joke, right? As a lockdown comes in for SJSU, seeing if they can maneuver Boise State back at the point of access, but this corner is going to be available, and with the updraft, there's a position that Skies can hold if they open into this, but nice takedown onto one, but there's a recovery, and making an exchange. SJSU with the disadvantage, with Ruriana getting another elimination.
Spike planted.
Ooh, 3v3, now it's an even fight as Khan is going to go ahead and take out Aldam. It is, ooh, that's another flash. Sadly, no off kill through that flash. And Skies is going to go down as Ruriana kind of picking it up, trading with Khan, and it looks like Jay is going to get the remaining two, and get the off back.
J-Back coming in clutch towards the end of this, able to do it once in the previous round and doing so again now. The swift movement buys them just enough time to be able to get that spike diffused, leading in with a very dominant 7-2 scoreline. These last few rounds are going to be critical. You do not want this to start continuing to get away from you. Great angle by J-Back. Even this gunplay around the barrel, just everything about it. Boise State finding these really, really great exchanges, using not only the architecture, but their spatial awareness to their advantage. And SJSU just at least needs to get a couple more rounds in this so that once they rotate to this defensive side, they have a more formidable chance.
A performance worthy of the dabbing penguin, indeed, made by J-Bag. It looks like Boise State, we're 2-2-1 split, so I mean, we've got all of our bases covered here. It looks like Skies is playing a little bit more passively than before. No, they're going in, they're being aggressive with that op, with Aldam there to back them up. We see Killjoy between points B and C, and that's the defensive setup for Boise State as Ruriana's gonna find Kahim, take him down. J-Bag's gonna do the same to John Hamm, but is gonna trade.
It's two-piece for Boise, waiting for the smoke to dissipate, gets a great engagement, 1-for-1, but now there's still some retaliation from Khan, rotating now with the Spectre. Aldam maneuvering ever so slightly in the back. Alarm bot has been sought out. They know they're there. The shot goes wide. The dash doesn't get reset. That guiding light gets the blind for the moment. Sky's still going to hold this angle, though. They have the spike in sight. Can they get these final two picks? The Trailblazer looking for the intel. One in the corner. Doesn't quite get the wall bang through the box. Still keeping to the right. Second guiding light. Nothing else to block it. Khan gets the shot. And not a fast enough trigger finger by Boise State for SJSU to claim this one with a thrifty.
And now that puts us at 8-2, I believe, which kind of more formidable as we're approaching the swap here for SJSU. Khan just pulled that trigger first, and Skies goes down. What a fantastic replay as we kind of go into the next bye phase, 7-3.
And it's moments like that that you need from SJSU. That's the morale boosting that you need, especially when you're going against a player like J-Back, like Skies, who are very, very dominant right now. I mean, even Ruriana, who is finding these off flanks and this lurking type of tactic that's just yielding massive value that you would typically see from someone else. Also having the coverage even here from the Century turret to make sure that there isn't an opportunity for a counterplay.
We see Jarger take down Ruriana. That is Boise State down one and down their primary defense, I do have to say.
Yeah, Showstopper, at least getting one is huge for them.
Yeah, it looks like Skies is kind of rotating all the way up through the top, trying to get to point C, where most of the engagement seems to be happening. This is all four members of Boise State in one place, waiting for the SJSU push.
So much utility coming out from Fade from SJSU into that narrow position, but now they've lost most of it, and then you're going to walk in, unfortunately, into the breach. The huge aftershock gets massive damage, the fault line to follow. That is, unfortunately, another round going in favor of SJSU, and Boise State finds themselves in the last round where they want to secure that they can get one more to put them into a more favorable outcome for the side swap.
As we watch this replay, we see lots of trades coming out, and then we see a valiant attempt made by Skies, kind of staying in the smoke, seeing what they can do, swapping weapons over there. And it looks like Boise State is not able to commit to a full buy this round, which SJSU will surely use to their advantage.
Couple of light buys on the armor, more so focusing on the weaponry here. And with how Boise State's been playing, they can afford to opt to do so versus taking more of a defensive play, especially with how their aggression is. That's going to be a sight line blocked. Hyper aggressive through the window. This is gunplay that's not favoring Boise and definitely shutting down a lot of the health value onto the Killjoy. SJSU in this final segment now is making a real headway onto the point. Gets shut down in the trade despite the wallbang onto one. Ruriana, oh, that's the spike! Good potentially get the second. Lines it up. 20 HP. The pistol is out. And it's a 1-for-1. Boise State.
Is this the
It's
empty
now only a
fortune
matter
cookie
of
all over
time.
again?
There's the try shot, but can't get the damage. The weaponry advantage does go in favor of Jarger. And now we've got the swap of sides where there is a not so significant gap in what we would have anticipated from the start of the round defensively here for Boise State. And now on the offense, it will be very significant how they start this pistol round off to see if they can maintain this lead, or if SJSU gets the defense, they can really close the gap with these two back-to-back rounds with a pistol win and a very significant bye for the second round.
I do also want to highlight that I think attack suits Boise State's very aggressive play style much better. Not that they're a bad defensive team, but I definitely think they lean more towards the go in, do great gunplay things, win the round. And while the gunplay hasn't been going their way the past couple of rounds, so they might get punished on attack here.
My biggest concern is the ego check. Like, there's nothing wrong with being aggressive and playing forward, but when you now find yourself being overzealous, it can be extremely punishable when you don't have the rounds being so significantly in one-sided favor. Rihanna can keep over towards this A position, acknowledges that there's one, so you see SJSU moving forward, aggressing into this competition of Boise State, but with a stack of 5, this could be a lot more challenging. Trailblazer attempting intel, goes forward, lunges for one. You get the chip damage onto the back, but still doesn't get the elimination.
Checking their corners, making sure that this push is thorough. We do see one member split off, but Boise State is doing all 5 on A, and 3 are taken down immediately.
What a paint shell. Jarger had such a beautiful timing on that with the smoke, and at this point, Skies had to commit to the forward leap out of the smoke so they didn't just instantly get shut down by it. Try shot goes well, at least for one flank. Great crossfire as well, holding the angle. All of them getting topped up for healing, so there is a chance to get back into this, but it's still a numbers disadvantage for Boise.
Looks like they're searching for their next victim, sticking together, their buddies here. We see a little bit more healing, and it looks like they're trying to go for point B here. We'll see what they find.
For the plan. Oh, but the flank by Khan comes from C-side on the reverse position. Now all of them gets blinded for the moment. There is a aftershock that comes through, and that will be a pickup here for SJSU. But what a valiant effort to attempt on this pistol round and gain the lead. But this now ensures, or at least has a highly likelihood of SJSU taking this next round, evening against 7-7, and getting themselves an opportunity to potentially pull ahead here, especially on this defensive side. And the stakes are high because, again, this is only a best of 1. This is not a best of 3. So this singular map makes a big difference in this first week. And
determines how you'll be seeded for the rest of NECC 2023 season.
There's going to be a bit of a force buy here coming out from Boise, so I'm curious to see what they're going to be able to gain with it.
There's a lot of utility being committed here. We see that Omen going in first. It looks like Boise State's goal is just to press W and try to click some heads and see what they can do. And I think that was the point of the forced buy here, as we kind of get onto point. Skies is down first. That's a bad omen for Boise State.
Yeah, didn't get to check the corner. A little bit of an off-tempo when pressing in onto this. It still gives them the advantage despite them sacrificing 2. SJSU losing more within the trade. The spike is down, playing the angles. There's one at least underneath to manage this hallway, and does have the smoke and paranoia still accessible. What a shot.
Well, 2v1.
Blinded for the moment, 17 HP. Aldum is going to be able to cause enough pressure, and J-Bag gets 3, especially with the weaponry pickup, and even gets the Ares as well from the opponent to utilize and carry over into this next round to further ensure that they have a decent ego.
Boise State's like, all right, some of you are going to die on this push. That does not matter to me. We come out in the end on top here, going 8-6 now. And now they're able to do a much better buy than what we saw last round.
And you're going to see both J-Bag and Alden, because they were able to hold on to this, pick up the weaponry, keep the currency. This is now something that they can look to for buying additional weaponry in that next round. If this one gets away from them, there's already so much that's been committed in towards that A1 position. Patience is a virtue, though. Guiding Light comes in, see if anybody gets blinded. Nothing as of yet. 1-for-1 trade. They have lost the Killjoy, so they lose their backline coverage, especially with that bot in that far left position. You can see on the map, no longer able to gain intel.
It looks like Skies is going to be the first one to touch B point here. Ooh, and immediately gets clicked by Gara. J-Bag comes in immediately after. Daimyo's going to go ahead and punish Gara for that. This is the duo. This is the duo that we're looking for. Aldim, Daimyo, they did a lot of work last time. We'll see what they can do as they go on to C site, looking to plant the spike.
I'm hoping that half check doesn't punish them. That's been a couple of times now we've seen that from Boise State, where they go into an area or a position without fully committing to that corner check, leaving themselves vulnerable. Great pickup by Aldim, though, making it a 2-for-2. Blinded for the moment, making it very challenging visibility-wise, but the Seekers notify where Khan is, and now it's only one that's left. They top themselves up healing-wise. And a Trailblazer is very, very knowledgeable to tell them exactly where the 5th and final player is from SJSU. And despite the disadvantage and a little bit of sloppiness, I won't say it's bad, it's just those kind of moments where you can see right there, a half peak doesn't go fully into the corner to lose out when those exchanges do not go in their favor. But Boise, ultimately, with the ultimates that they had and the utility that remained, were able to still pull through on this.
Aldim, Daimyo, best duo, letting Boise State get a little bit. You can definitely kind of tell through the weapons here who's been putting in some work these past couple of rounds. And it looks like 9 and 6. SJSU needs to start getting concerned. They're down 3 rounds.
Trailblazer again. Seeking information, sees the nanoswarm. They get one visibility-wise as there's a great 2-piece coming out from Ruriana. Playing into the corner. No armor left. 50 HP.
Oh, no.
Goes for the trade. Can't get this one, but again, the damage is already done. SJSU was once at the disadvantage, but manages to pull through here, getting Skies out of this. The spike still in hand, though, by J-Bag. Being very cognizant of where the enemy is. And at this point now, they're very split and extremely vulnerable.
Looks like we're trying to commit to a point A push. We'll see if Aldim and J-Bag can kind of reunite with each other here. Somebody was blinded, so that's pretty good to see the trade come out. 1v2 does not go in their favor.
Yeah, especially when you had the spike go down over towards that narrow corridor, makes it so much more challenging for Aldim to get that pickup here. Worthwhile trades, though, on the opposing side. I really did like how they were holding that angle, specifically with that Killjoy play. But now looking at the bigger picture here, it's 9 and 7. Just like the Doc's keys to the game, focus on your angles. They had a flanking opportunity, but now they still need to keep a watchful eye on the win condition here.
And it looks like Boise State is pretty close to a full buy here. So they're definitely kind of packing some heat in terms of weaponry, as it looks like we see Skies kind of already pushing A. The remaining members of Boise State are playing a bit more passively, just kind of waiting around spawn to see what Skies can find out and see what Killjoy can find out.
Rihanna playing the slow game right now, up mid. Waiting for
inch by inch.
No one in the corner. Great check, though. Something that we've seen a little bit lack of. But Sky now onto the point. Does have... Ooh, is sought out. So there will be some aggression, but Aldim is there waiting. Kihem can't seem to get that trade. And there's a lockdown forced on A and part of B. So that is a hard rotation here from Boise State. And SJSU should be able to read this.
We do see Aldim and Skies going together to point B. It looks like J-Bag kind of gets to point C themselves first, though. We see Killjoy Omen kind of like guarding that point B. Well, Omen's gonna kind of port away, come right back.
Oh, they don't check the corner.
And it cost them.
But they still get one. They still get one, though, so that is at least something.
One enemy
Boise
remaining.
State going to collapse onto the remaining few, with J-Bag getting 2 more for their troubles. A flanking maneuver to collapse down onto the 5th. And SJSU now again finds themselves a 3-round deficit.
The hard rotation was forced, but then not necessarily planned for and acted on. I think not checking that corner, they knew that Boise State kind of had to rotate all the way over there, but they didn't necessarily have a trap set for them once they got there, which is something that I would have liked to have seen more of. And also corner checking. These killjoys are just like waiting around every corner, it feels like, on both teams, and everybody's falling for it.
And when things start to get really intense, it's very easy to lose focus on those very basic tactics to try and enter onto a point. This is actually a very clean take right now. This should be extremely easy as Skies gets a pick through the smoke, just sprays and sprays once again. SJSU is at such a disadvantage. Oh, absolutely. Will they be able to find somebody walking through? Prowler instantly shut down. Aldem on the flanking position gains another.
Ooh.
Couple of pickups here, though.
Cat that. It looks like him is the final member remaining. J-Bag is going to take them down. Okay, the beginning part of that was really clean.
Yeah.
And then a lot of shots
Nobody was there.
were whiffed, and that cost Boise State.
Yeah, there was nobody really planted by C, and if so, they got intel that all 5 were rushing and just abandoned ship. So now they had to play into Boise State, which with the way that they've been, once they get onto a post plant, is extremely challenging to dislodge them. They like to hold their angles, they look for these trades, and more often than not have enough utility to actually force a lot out from the opponent.
Time out. Scout destroyed.
Trailblazer does have info, so there is one keeping
Alarm bot
watch.
down.
Though there is a flanking opportunity. You did see the alarm bot go down, so they're going to drop the lockdown, which gives them space in this middle position. Great pickup as well by Skies once again onto John Ham. Oh, wow.
Through the flash.
Area's clear.
Now, that's a very aggressive peek. Just going to go right into potentially 2 that were still there before. Seekers, though, will give information. 2 on the map. 3rd as well found. So this is a multi-pronged attack by SJSU. Nightfall comes in, blocking the sights. Instant shutdown. And that's SJSU being able to take advantage of this.
Do you think this is going to hurt Boise State's eco?
I don't believe we got a quick display of the purchasing power from the previous round, but I would say that it's going to be definitely one where there's going to be maybe some light buys if we come through, at least on the armor aspect of it. We'll see if we get that information here since there's 10 seconds still to go. But SJSU, again, they're needing to find themselves these types of wins. And I love, as you saw with the Seekers, it went to all 3 different areas because they were looking for this multi-prong attack. They come in with the Nightfall to secure that they can blind anybody since they're clustered by B. And with this aggression of all 5, once again, Boise State has to be very careful in how they enter.
Looks like Killjoy kind of goes back for the spike there and then comes up. We're pushing A. So far, there hasn't been any first blood, but lots of shots are exchanged through high ground and low ground smoke. Skies is even looking for that jet ultimate right now.
Yeah, Blade Storm available, helping them economically, more specifically. Brianna has the plant. Now it's the post plant, the strength that we've seen from Boise State, but there is a rolling thunder coming in to deny well-rounded positioning. Great close encounter with the Sheriff, gets the weapon upgrade, flanking from the behind angle. 3 comes in, eliminating Boise State, but it's still a 2-2. Guiding Light gets 1, blinds it, the weaponry change, can't recover, the reload still occurring, and that's SJSU taking another round away from Boise.
Boise State had it in the beginning, and then the Killjoy just kind of dropped down, got those eliminations, and completely flipped that for SJSU.
And this was a great opportunity because they got the weapon upgrade, but they unfortunately weren't ready for that heaven position. Jumping down in the window, Khan gives a massive massive turn of events for SJSU, and now there is a full buy here. So judging by the Sheriff, it was a partial force buy or an eco buy, so now they can look for a more formidable round since we did not have this presented previously. And the other part of it too is the only ultimate that you're going to potentially have is from the Omen, and everyone is playing at a deficit. They need to get some more online for these last final rounds to put the nail in the coffin.
Turret's kind of peeking around, it looks like. Looks like Skies is pushing hard B. We see the smoke come out. Skies has taken a lot of space. No eliminations have come out yet. This looks like a 3-person push on point B. Omen's there to kind of offer some...
You should run.
This was a very coordinated engagement. There's the dash updraft into the triple smoke, making sure that everything is covered. The lockdown going to deny all of it, though, by SJSU. And they take a wide lurking flank. What an absolute counter to a precision play by Boise State. It is only Ruriana remaining. They can't even get to the spike. They have to just play this back and keep this weapon. What a massive, massive counter play.
So what do you think? It feels like Boise State, once they've locked down the point, what do you think their post-plant strategy needs right now?
I mean, the thing is the first few rounds that we have seen them, at least in the post plant, they play their angles really well, and they have the utility to manage through it. But the problem is with the last couple, one, it was just their lack of information on that high ground position, and the second one, their initiation into that point was flawless. But the fact is that you had SJSU only had to commit the lockdown to completely shatter its throughput. And now we have to just be very cognizant of how many more ultimates are still online for SJSU, because they could be a lot more reserved in their usage since only that one ultimate gained that value.
Looks like Boise State has gotten the hint on this reservation. There's a very slow push for C going out here. Looks like now the jet dash, has been committed along with the smokes. 2 Omen smokes have gone down. Boise State is waiting for SJSU's approach onto the...
Oh, they were ready for it. They played the same tactic versus B, but went to C. And they saw this rotating flank. Jaker still gets that takedown onto Ruriana. But now J-Bag waiting with the fault line. And can even go in with the flashpoint to deny it, but Khan's still getting value. They are just swarming Boise State. A lot of this kind of falls, I mean, not to say that it was bad play, but there needed to be at least one pickup on that lurk from SJSU. They were so ready for it. Right here, this was when you needed it. There had to be potentially that takedown onto another player to deny this accessibility that SJSU had, but ultimately now we're finding ourselves at 11-11 match score. This could be rounds of overtime.
Oh, definitely. Especially with the way SJSU has been hard countering all of Boise State's push. All of Boise State's pushes so far. Looks like we're going a little bit light on the armor right now, but not so much on the weapon.
Yeah, this partial buy is going to be really interesting. Sky's now hit from the fault line. Trade not going in favor. The Vandal is far superior to that assault rifle, and now there's some nice recovery and big upgrades. Ooh, risky, but great shot from Ruriana. Low health, has to be careful. J-Bag needs to lead this. And you can see as that trinket on the side of the gun is, they need to be calculated right now to make this work.
Looks like the lockdown gonna at least get them some information here.
Oh no, they get the trade though.
That's important.
J-Bag with a Phantom now. He's got the weapon upgrade.
But he's half
the
HP.
Possibility of doing this. Goes for it as they crouch down. Boise State manages to get this by the skin of their teeth.
Match point.
This is now match point going in for Boise State. So that partial buy, while risky, actually ended up paying off for them. When Boise State really needed it, they had the gunplay, they won the final 1v1 and the trade. So now Boise State with 3 ultimates online, I think now is do or die. I think we'll see a lot of ultimates this one.
It's going to be a hard push towards C. You can see the pings on the map. There is guaranteed focus to get the double smoke out. But if very forward positioning as well coming out from SJSU, looking into that middle position. Seeker lets them know that there is one just through the window.
Ooh.
And they're actually further back. They're going to flee from it, so they do have some space to work with as SJSU looks for this defensive hold.
And it looks like the C push is not what Boise State is currently going for here. They're kind of weighing their options between the three, trying to find some information. They know they've got to be careful.
From the shadows, not fully
How much
committed.
information right now?
I really do like this from Boise State, though. It's taking a complete different strategy going into this, where they've more so played aggressively, seeing if SJSU is going to go out. You hear the op shot. There is a fault line, though, making this extremely difficult for Skies to get into the smoke. They actually go into it. You just see them pass each other, but it's going to be Khan that gets the kill. Skies doesn't see the elbow in the corner of their peripheral vision, and they get punished.
And it looks like now Boise State is forced to rotate
30
off of
seconds
C,
left.
and it looks like they're doing a B push in these last 30 seconds. They're seeing what they can do. Down one. This is match point. We currently have Omen carrying the spike and Killjoy point B. So this is a three-person point A push. They've smoked off the top window.
Rihanna is looking for somebody to transition between that position, but if they
10
take the
seconds
long
left.
spawn position, that will make it much more challenging. There's one. Their patience has paid off. It makes it a 4-for-4. Fault line comes in, Trevor active, drop down from over, but they go into the held position and leave their back vulnerable. The Nightfall from Fade, SJSU, it's the saving grace. Aldum gets a lot of shots, but Gerd is gonna get 2 with it. And that is unfortunately not going to be a victory here for Boise State, and we find ourselves going into extra innings.
But it's not a complete hard
Switching
loss
sides.
for Boise State
Overtime.
either. They should be able to at least get some decent weapons for this next round to kind of put up a fight against SJSU, even though they don't have ultimates on the board.
Yeah, I mean, the fact is that now that we go into the overtime, you have full capacity for both teams to purchase what is necessary. And everyone gets the same even playing field. It's just this swap and rotation from defensive to offensive positioning. It has really been 50-50, I would say, between both ultimately. So this first initial round could be very, very powerful for Boise State if they get the defensive hold first and find another opportunity aggressively and see if they can play as they did in those previous rounds.
It looks like Boise State is nice and spread out, though. We have 2 on A. It looks like Skies with the op, which has been deadly against SJSU. Looks like they're pushing in with support from their Omen, not completely by themselves. Pushing very aggressively, almost all the way into SJSU spawn there. And it looks like they're just going to hold that. No, they're going to inch forward some more, check their corners. Good. We see the turret come out. We see the smoke as well. I don't think anybody's actually found each other yet. People are close. There's a
Guiding
blind.
Light attempts to get somebody, manages to, but the smoke is there. Buying a few more seconds worth of time. Rihanna going to continue to jiggle peek this corner to see if anybody pushes in, and Skies just holds the angle. At this point, Boise State can do so and see if anybody walks into that op shot.
Boise State is set up very nicely defensively here. And as we get into 40 seconds, SJSU needs to start thinking about how they're going to try to approach Boise State here. And it looks like that's a lockdown coming out.
Yep. Beautiful fault line,
30
denying
seconds
Skies
left.
the positioning, especially because Skies doesn't have any armor here. They didn't opt to go into that defensively and forced out buying the operator. Does get the jump peek to deny the shot. Skies, again, threading the needle here.
Ooh.
Shots come in, but it's traded out. That is a triple kill, though, for Boise State. Oh, my
10
goodness,
seconds
almost a 5-4 in total. Great recovery here by J-Bag, and now you have Boise State on a match point.
Switching sides.
All right, Boise State, here it is again. I think they're probably going to force the op again, even though we didn't get a ton of value out of it in terms of kills. They were forced to commit the fault line just to get Skies off of that long A point. So they were forced to commit a lot of utility and an ultimate just to get Skies out of there, which, I mean, is still value, even if Skies isn't showing up in the kill feed.
J-Bag waiting. Be using this front line down a long. Though with that Sentry Turret going down, there is a massive piece of information for SJSU to know that they will move up to this. Blinding light up front attempted by the flashpoint. Sky's gonna look to hold up in hell. A lot of fire through the smoke. They guarantee the plant, and now it's the post plant. They've fallen short the last 2 significant rounds. But can they pull it out this time and already get a trade?
Looks like Sky's gonna take down Cam. Amazing job there. Jarger's gonna get Rihanna, so we're kind of trade for trade right now. Khan is gonna go ahead and take out Danyo. Alden's gonna get Gara, so Boise State and SJSU matching each other a limb for a limb right now. But Boise State has more bodies to throw at it. So Boise State is going to win game 1 against SJSU. And Boise State is always looking for talented players, production, and broadcasters. Top talent, along with good grades and eligibility, can earn scholarships as well. Sign up today by visiting boisestate.edu/esports for more information. What a game. We went into a couple of rounds of overtime there, and that was kind of not what I think we were expecting from the massive lead Boise State had in the beginning.
Yeah, again, the biggest thing was the adaptation aspect of it. And once you did have SJSU on the defensive position, they were a lot more formidable and were able to start understanding this type of ebb and flow that was coming from Boise State. Because more often than not, you mentioned it, especially when we had the swap of sides, that the aggression involvement from this team is just consistent. Like, they are very, like, they have their decision, they want to go with it, and they want to pull the trigger. But that can sometimes be a detriment to you. You have to be very aware of how you enter in onto these positions. And that's why I spoke on a couple of occasions where it was this really slow, methodical play. Both that second to last round and also when we went into the overtime, where Boise State at this point, they held their line, they watched their angles, and just allowed SJSU to walk in and find themselves in the trap, which ultimately is the stepping stone that brought them to this win in this first, best of 1 that we had today.
And I think that took SJSW completely off guard. They had already completely adapted their play style to this go in, go hard, click buttons, click heads. And then Boise State just waits in their spawn.
Mellow it out. Let's just have some tea and honey and we'll just wait a little bit.
Of course. Let's just chill out. Let's just wait. I mean, adapt to this, I guess. And so,
I was going to say, go ahead.
No, you go first.
Yeah, I was just going to say, with how we've seen at least Boise State in this first game and leading into this next one, I'm curious to see what they're going to be feeling impact-wise, especially being able to take that victory from this first game with as close as it was.
Oh, definitely. And I'm sure that they've, not that they've had to adapt to the much slower strategy. That'll be something in their arsenal for the next game, which will be another best of 1 because this is just NECC 2023 activation week, right? So we're getting seeding here right now. That is the goal of tonight. Game number 2 will be against Simon Fraser University. And I think we can just get right into that game.
Yeah, and I mean, I would like to continue seeing the same type of composition. I think this is something, especially when it comes to Skies and JBag. But again, depending upon the map that we're going to go to, there could be some variations. It looks like we actually do have confirmation here by this lovely cinematic that it is going to be Icebox. And with this one, we see a couple of different variations. I've even actually, in recent competition, just towards the end of the year, we've seen some unique integration with a Euro play, which is something that we don't get a lot of. It's one of those really kind of more so APAC or Asian regions that like to bring something into it, and some universities have wanted to adopt this type of methodology and play it to a very unique strategy, more so not because I think it's the best in what you would say is a meta, but because it's more so the surprise factor. I don't foresee that coming out from Boise State, but their opponent on the other hand, it's always kind of an ace in the hole if some universities would like to take that into contribution. But the typical ones we're going to see is a lot of the Viper. We see that specifically. Sova is another significant one alongside the Jet. So as we do enter in onto this game, you are going to see that there is the Viper. And, Arena is something that I like from Boise State because that absolutely leads into this throttle mentality. If you can get at least that initial pickup with the Arena, you can just snowball in these engagements, especially since you have Boise State starting out on the attack.
So it looks like Boise State definitely is going for snowball strat. It looks like Boise State is currently stacked to try to push point A. We kind of see that Killjoy in the middle, looking between the two. We see Viper get the wall down across point B and then immediately rotate through main here.
curious where J-Bag's going to put this rifle wall, as they initially just leave with the smoke for now. They are going to look to try and divide B, but they've opted to go instantly into A, especially since they've got Sage to block off with this wall access points and sightlines. That could be really challenging. But this multi-level and taking this high ground position is very valuable for Boise State, as they already have some intel. Jump peek, couple of shots fired, and Skies gets the first takedown.
It looks like Rihanna's going to get the second on to Kai, win the battle of the Killjoys there. It looks like Boise State, they're now rotating B after getting a couple of eliminations on A. They're rotating B, going to make use of that Viper wall most likely. We see the Reyna solo on A. Rihanna's just going to take down Vanquish from behind. They weren't ready. Rihanna, pistol round, hitting shots.
Yeah, and this is going to be a pincer maneuver here. Ruriana knows full well that they can give this information over towards J-Bag and Skies. Skies now going to look to try and collapse into this. Everyone on Simon Fraser going to be collapsed onto. And again, it was so well played. You had dominance with the early couple of picks on A, opting to rotate over to B. Still a little bit of lingering by SFU in that A room where there's still Skies, seeing if they can get any more value than they've already gained. And then at that point, if they do finally take that rotation, J-Bag is waiting, has the wall, and there's Skies just there to flank after every piece of information is communicated to the team.
And it looks like maybe a rinse, wash, and repeat. No, it looks like they're just going straight to B, which, I mean, makes sense. We see the smoke, we see the wall committed, kind of scanning for the enemy. We see that drone going out. Hasn't found anything just yet.
Toxins going up.
Looks like wall goes up as well.
To block. Yeah. A little bit of an X marks the spot here with the Viper walls pushing into this. The default plant position is going to be walled off to guarantee that there is an opportunity for Boise State. And then with them already having the advantage, there is a quick completion, flawless round. And Boise State is going to take full advantage once again because they know they have the weaponry advantage and also the positional advantage.
So round 3, do you think Simon Fraser is going to be able to kind of compete with Boise State with weaponry and armor?
Absolutely. They've been waiting for this one. Typically, when it comes to that first round victory on the pistol, the second round is always a little bit of a throwaway. You'll only maybe see a light buy when it comes to potentially like a sheriff or maybe a light arm or something to at least give that forward or frontal aggressor an opportunity to play defensively. But now with a buy, this is where you can start see Simon Fraser try to combat against Boise State. Already a lot of intel gained. You have the bolt, also with this drone overhead, gaining knowledge, gets the dart as well, and you can see them now fleeing from that position where this is a deja vu moment where Spike goes back to B when the aggression initiates on A.
It looks like now the wall goes up fully in activation, kind of bisecting that B point there, and it looks like the final rotations from A are over as Boise State prepares to just fully engage on point B.
And they draw back. They have no need to play forward. They've got the Sage Wall. The Viper as well finally falls, so there's no longer any sort of denial of vision, so it's going to let Simon Fraser play into them.
Ooh, some trades there.
Wall comes in from the opposing side. They need to break it to deny this.
Wow!
What a shot, though, by Riddy. But Ririana comes in from a side angle. Big presence indeed, winning this round.
All right, so Riddy stunted on some members of Boise State just as that support Sage, but it was Boise State in the end that won the Battle of the Sages, which I feel like is just, you know, worth mentioning as a bit of a point of pride.
It was a deja vu moment again. Like I said, just everything fell to the same type of maneuver from the previous round, even with that little bit of hesitation and patience by Simon Fraser, but they're playing again at the deficit. They are unable to really gain too much out of that. Couple of pickups give some currency to them. Rihanna now with that Killjoy, tossing out the swarm grenade in the back, and Sky's already leading the charge again. You can just see that they are ready with this Empress and just diving into the back. They can have needs of concern. Reckless abandonment the whole way through as it is a 4-0 round win with Skies leading the charge as the queen they are in the game.
And especially when you get that first elimination, that lets you just press W into them and keep going because you already have the advantage and you can kind of like see the rest of them, so there's no reason not to push in if you're continually getting kills. And you know, I mean, losing one member versus taking out the entirety of Simon Fraser, that looks really good for Economy.
It's no surprise with Skies being a Reyna player because Devour, that's all they're doing. They are just playing aggressively and just never allowing their opponent to gain a foothold on this. And again, almost gets that pickup. Second Lear coming through, denying visibility, keeping watch as the lockdown on the high ground is active, pushing everyone away. And this is so beautifully placed as well, since it captures not only the upper catwalk stairway, but it also gets a lot of that mid position. And you can see the pings come in, Shockbolt ricochets off the wall, J-Bag gets the pickup. The wall also denies accessibility for anyone to push in and gain sightlines onto it. And this is just another clean, clinical, and surgical play by Boise State.
Only going to lose one member there again as we kind of set Simon Fraser down 5 rounds. What do you think they need to do to turn it around?
I mean, this is a tough one because Boise State has really rotated the ultimate economy now that they do only commit the lockdown into this. They had Empress on the round before. There's not overcommittance. So for Simon Fraser, the biggest thing that I would say is if they potentially could catch Boise State off by playing a little bit more forward and holding closer angles to that initial opening of the doorway, that might give them something. But there is so much surface area to cover on this icebox map, and once again now the change comes in and they focus over to B.
Ooh,
that's
I think
beautiful.
Sky's going down first. That's very big. That might be Simon Fraser kind of taking this out, even as Daimyo takes down Kai. This is an even matchup. Boise State kind of backs up off of the point. It looks like Aldam's going to go in, try to plant that spike. Is unable to, so is forced to fall back again and wait for... Ooh, bringing Skies back. This is Boise State full force against 4 members of Simon Fraser.
The resurrection, again, it is 1 ultimate per round. Everything that Boise State is doing strategy-wise going into this is extremely calculated. A couple of decent shots come in by Riddy, even with that Marshall, since they did have to be very cognizant of their economy to buy light, hoping that this next round can be even better. But they did take a little bit of the information that I wanted to see from them. They played a little bit further forward. They got the trade. It's unfortunately that it didn't go as fully in their favor because they, you know, 1 for 1, but it's that aggressive maneuvers and those positions that catch Boise State off guard, and they have to respond to it. And I really want to see more of that from Simon Fraser, especially since they should be approaching a couple of their key ultimates, like the Viper's Pit or the Lockdown, even the Showstopper from the Rays.
Ooh, it looks like Sky's going to go down first. It looks like there is not a resurrection to do that again, so Simon Fraser now is definitely the time to come back, but you do have that Sova ultimate to worry about, and because of the way Boise State's been using ultimates, it's likely that's going to come out at some point as Boise State is investigating. It looks like investigating, trying to get some picks on point A, and then probably going to rotate to point B because that's where the Viper wall is, and always has
You
been.
acknowledge where Daimyo is too. So they know at least the spike is in the back position. Dropped it even at this point to see if they can take entry elsewhere. This is very interesting from Simon Fraser. They're playing, once again, extremely far back. There is the Viper's wall. Stage gonna commit theirs to attempt the spike plant, but the damage is far too high. Very early before the wall can actually become fortified to deny positioning. Great opportunity for Simon Fraser to turn this around, but Rariana able to get the gunplay.
30
Shock
seconds
dart
left.
ricocheting off the wall to try and chip away at the health, since it's still a 2 versus 3. I'm curious if they're going to use this Hunter's Fury. Gets another pickup on the high ground.
Last player standing. 1 enemy remaining.
Oh my god!
Oh!
She got it!
Yeah, Riddy played, I believe, that catwalk high ground, dropped down below, and actually used the Sage Wall that still remained as a great sightline blocker, since you were having a lot of crossfire from both J-Bag that was remaining and also Damio, and unfortunately just not being aware of that change in positioning by Riddy allows them to get at least their first round on the board, but still a tall order for them to try and close the gap here.
I understand, like, some of the logic behind playing back. They don't want to be caught out, and they don't want to get picked there. But I think, especially when you're up 1, playing, you know, all the way on the back of point, I would like to see them hold up a little bit more forward, too.
Rihanna, by the skin of their teeth, survived that. And all the while, J-Bag and all of them look for a flank. Default position again. Don't even need to commit the Sage Wall this time. They're just going to hold the corner. That's such an aggressive play coming out, just even with the spree firing through that wall.
Just walked right through.
Oh, what a ricochet. The paint shell still gets the pickup. Are you kidding me?
You will not kill my allies.
Oh, Rez, though. So it's a 3v3. Boise's still not out of this yet.
2-on-3, uphill battle for Fraser.
They have recon, though. Info coming out from Simon Fraser. SFU, it's all on the shoulders of Riddy, who's done it before. Looks for the defuse, goes for the trigger. Can they do it again? The wall is blocking it. J-Bag has to drop down, can't get it in time. What a worthwhile effort, though, from Riddy. I have to give major props to that. Despite being down 6, that was extremely well played.
Player of the game, Riddy, perhaps? Because this is not the first or even the second time something like this has happened. It's the third.
Yeah.
Riddy consistently keeps coming out with all these rounds to Simon Fraser, and in the end, that round didn't go their way. It looks like Boise State, it looks like we're going for point A again, but from J-Bag's perspective, just lob the nade and put up your wall on point B, rinse and repeat.
Riddy's being really helpful for Simon Fraser, but the problem is it's coming when they're already at a deficit. Like, when you're down 2 players, like, if you could have that type of gameplay at the start of a round and you get those couple of picks, it makes a significant difference. So they have a great understanding and being able to evaluate the situation. But again, here, you've already seen 2 go down. There's no way that Simon Fraser can recover from plays like that because of how early they lose the advantage.
Looks like 8-1. Boise State currently up 7, and at this point, we kind of have enough ultimates to like use 1 per round, rotate, to possibly just take it away from Simon Fraser with this massive gap.
Turret out.
You more so now have to really start thinking about the mental, the morale aspect of Simon Fraser. When you're down this many rounds, you know you have 1 score onto it. There is the Viper's Pit. You hear it become active. And curious where it's been planted. It is by A. So this has been a... Oh, no, you didn't. There's already a takedown on the counter side. Kai goes down. And look at Rihanna. Gonna wait to go through. Oh, but they're waiting for it. Vanquish, definitely holding to their namesake right there. Vanquishing within the venomous pit. And at this point, Simon Fraser's like, we've won A, and Boise State's like, that's fine, you can take it. We're just gonna take a place elsewhere.
That's fine, you can take it. We'll rotate to B. I mean, this is rinse and repeat. This is part of the playbook at this point. Lose A, go B. It looks like Daimyo didn't quite get the memo. Looking to see if they can get any extra picks. Hopefully this doesn't go as poorly as Rihanna when they use that grappling hook.
What a wall.
1 enemy remaining.
The wall again. Consistently finding value with this toxic screen. Doesn't even matter. Simon Fraser now. Who's left? Who do you think?
Riddy.
It's Riddy. It's gonna be J-Bag getting the takedown.
The State now 9, Simon Fraser's 1. Now we have our own Viper's Pit. We also have Killjoy and Sova Ultimate 1 last round pretty cleanly without needing to commit anything. We'll see if this round will be the same.
I gotta say, that melee weapon, though, probably one of the coolest that they've made in quite a long time. I know everyone makes the comment of it being, like, replicated to, like, Master Chief from you know, Halo, but, like, still, it's got its own unique flair to it. I really
Inspiration
love it.
comes in all forms, I think.
It really does. It really does. Is there is a quick opportunity for a recon bolt just outside of it, manages to get picked up by J-Bag, and this aggression for a 5th consecutive time in the round of 9 manages to be extremely fast. Doesn't even need to go for the plant. It's just a
Last
killing
round
spree
in
for
the half.
Boise.
And this is last round before half, so we'll see maybe if Simon Fraser has some different tactics that they can bring to attack here. Because they're going to need to do something different.
Turret out.
I mean, when you take a look at what we've seen so far, the biggest aspect of this is even if they don't win this, they would love to. It's more so for the morale boost than anything else. You have to start thinking, all right, what is it that we're going to do on the attack? How is it that we can counteract this type of aggressive play? Sky's going to lead in. Look at these peaks. They're just lightning fast. Reckless abandonment from the beginning in this final round before the swap. Hunter's Fury committed, making sure that they can attempt for a couple of shots. Default as well. And this is the biggest thing. Is Boise State, even though they swap between A and B, it is always the same playbook. They have no need to deviate away from the plan because it's always been favorable for them, and there's no way to counteract it. Simon Fraser now having to go into a Viper's pit, and before they even reach the poisonous screen that is the pit, it is everyone going down before even approaching.
I bet that's fun, Alden.
Yeah. Oh, you're gonna res? I'm just gonna wait until your body returns from the ether and then just put you right back in it.
Oh, of course. And it looks like this was Sky's going down, but Daimyo getting the trade, and then immediately after eliminating Kai, I think that was kind of the end of it, because we had the Viper's Pit on the spike, and then nobody could even get to it, and the res came out, and then immediately after that was promptly gunned down.
Now, only 2 rounds away for Boise State to get a back-to-back best-of-1 win here. First already, as you saw moments ago, which was a lot more close. This one being much more dominant. Icebox seeming to be one that they are very confident on and a composition that works for them. Are you really going to play that aggressive up there with the Sage over by B? Boise State's just like, I'm going to put this wall here. I'm just going to back. I'm just going to hold on. No need, no worry. And they're all there, too.
Boise State has some rounds where they can do some funky stuff. They've got some throwaway rounds, I think.
Oh, there's so much committed into this B site. You can hear it. The drone, the boom bot.
Haven't found anything.
Simon Fraser. No, Simon Fraser has committed so much just into this narrow choke point after the wall came up. And that bought so much time for Boise State to now find the advantage. Daimyo going up top, high ground. They actually pulled the same switcheroo. Simon Fraser attempts to play as Boise State has. They go with Vanquish getting an early lead and now gets the plant.
And this round just comes down to gunplay, and it looks like Simon Fraser has the better end of it right now. Forcing Boise State to rotate. It looks like Killjoy's just barely alive there.
Oh, Daimyo and Maria managed to pull this off. Despite them having reduced health values, they attempt to go for the defuse to trigger their potential peak. Simon Fraser can't land the shots.
Oh,
everyone in
sure
the...
can.
What? Oh my gosh, Daimyo's gonna get it. Come on, Daimyo. Going with that 22 HP in a dream. And doesn't get it. Simon Fraser now. That's a well worth and well needed win for Simon Fraser.
Yes. And you know, I'm also like, there were 2 of them against a very low HP individual, but they held their ground. And some would call that patient, and some teams need to work on their patience and do things like that. I think SFU has the opposite problem. They knew that man had 22 HP. They should be on him. Character models in, pistols out, knives out, whatever it takes. Because that man is 1, and you are both close to full HP. So I think that kind of even though they won the round, I think that
Player
in a
standing.
micro way kind of demonstrates a lot of problems that they've been having. And right as I say that, now they're going super aggressively, and it's going to be hard for Rihanna to turn this around.
Yeah, they are going to play. They're going to play very, very forward because they know they have the weaponry advantage. It'll be an easy round pickup. They have the Stingers and the Spectres available for this. But now, with Boise State holding on to the currency, entering back in to compete back against Simon Fraser, these next 20 seconds of patience to find the positioning is going to be necessary for Simon Fraser to have a game plan to deny Boise State from getting one round closer to claiming this victory.
And where's this aggression been all game? Like, last round was really clean by Simon Fraser. I'd like to see them do more of that. Hit Boise State when they're not ready. And Boise State's definitely not ready for Simon Fraser to push into them like that.
Yeah, Sky is aggressively moving forward, as they typically do with the Reyna, but this is instantly punished. There's no escape for Aldum, despite them getting one.
Poor
Rihanna with the
has a
Sheriff.
pistol. Or,
Yeah.
Sheriff.
Just waiting. Waiting with a sidearm for now. They have full info, though. That two are right there by the toxic screen. Can they find something, though? If they are ready for the... Oh, no. What a shot by Rihanna. The flick comes through in time.
Flick and tap.
Boise State still be able to take this despite them being such a deficit right now. Two shots,
Rihanna
gets
says
the
yeah.
second. Oh, they've got the lockdown. They're going to be able to force them back. That gives a window of opportunity for Boise State to be able to get the defuse on this. Breaking the wall is the next major thing. They've got sightlines. They don't check right behind yellow box. And that's going to be a two-piece here for May on the Sova.
Simon Fraser's racking up rounds right now. Boise State, I think, is perhaps feeling a little bit uncomfortable right now. I think it's important in terms of the mental for Boise State to just kind of reset, do what they've been doing, or reset and adjust. We've seen passive play from them before. Maybe that's what they need to do now.
I'd personally be kicking myself a little bit. I would probably keep that lockdown, but you know, this is why they're competitive players and I'm not. So we'll see if they'll be able to recover despite that not gaining any value. Trades, indeed. Riddy is gone though, who's been quite a significant player for this squad.
Riddy Gary.
From Simon Fraser. They do have the drone being tossed into A, and Skies is maneuvering quickly for the assistant. Showstopper active, goes in for the rocket, another trade, then gets shut down before the rocket can do anything.
Looks like we're 2v2.
Spike planted.
Spike is planted, so Boise State kind of needs to rotate point and do something.
Oh!
Skies is being very aggressive, gonna take down Kaizen, now 2-on-1. Boise State's looks like they're going to take that round and get the defuse.
Yep. Skies coming in clutch. Devour guarantees they'll have enough to come back in, re-engaging with Alden being there for the crossfire assistance. And now Boise State in their last round. Potentially. Simon Fraser could be going home right now. Well, I say going home, but granted it's proceeding. But, you know, for not so great a placing, I'll put it that way.
Like Rihanna's Sky's gonna get a Vandal. We'll see what else Boise State kind of comes out with here. Currently, we just have the Sova ult online for Simon Fraser.
It's gonna be really interesting to see how Simon plays this. I almost would want them to just sit and wait. Or they can jump peek, that works too.
Drone goes down.
In. Oh, what a shot. And they're going to Empress into it. They know that they have the advantage, but they've lost their defensive for now. Double leer around it as the Nano Boost comes through. Nano Storm gets the chip damage, but now it's consistent Devour over and over. Skies has pulled the line onto 3. A flanking maneuver, collapsing in around Simon Fraser. There's no place to run. You are not safe and that will be a win again for Boise State.
And the Idaho Army National Guard is a proud supporter of Boise State Esports. Top plays are presented by the Idaho Army National Guard, who invites you to take your impressive critical thinking skills into real time. With more than 10 jobs offering a $20,000 bonus and your degree of choice paid for, the Idaho Army National Guard is the best team out there. Reach out on Twitch at iGuardGaming. So,
Ooh,
back
what
to
a
the
day.
conversation of the game.
Yeah.
There were definitely some really bright points where Simon Fraser, I think, shocked everybody, including Boise State. And so I
There
really
definitely
want to focus on that right now, just kind of at the beginning of the discussion. What were some big Simon Fraser plays that you'd like to highlight?
I mean, the biggest thing was once they were able to finally get that pistol round was significant for them. They had to get that on the side swap because now you have to look at how that's going to play out in the long run and the macro play. So they get that first initial pistol round. They then can look for a big buy. Then they can take it into that next round, which they were able to do so. And that aggressive play, which again, Boise at this point just has to forfeit more often than not and just try and get as much as they can out of it. But when they started to lean a little bit forward into that type of aggressive play, those positionings, attempting to lean in a little bit more, it favored them. But Boise State being a very reactive team, despite them still having a aggressive gene in their genetics, it was where now in the last few moments you saw Skies able to just sit back with the Reyna, the jump peaks coming through. At that point, that first jump peak should let you know we're not going to go into this. Let's take a different trajectory, because that long hallway was their demise in the grand scale of things.
And then I want to move the discussion into player of the game, of course.
It's a toughie. It's between Rihanna or Skies. One of the two.
Pick one, I'll pick the other. That was my thought exactly.
You know, I'll go with Skies just because I love seeing Reyna play. Even though we only got to see it once, I'm going to go with Skies.
And I mean, the last play that we just watched to win the round and get Boise State good seeding was some Reyna play. So, I mean, we only had like one round of it, but pretty significant, I would say. And it looks like
okay, I win. It's
do win?
Skies. It's Skies. I had a 50-50 chance. So
You had a 50-50. And it looks like we're kind of going through some replays right now of Skies on. It looks like Skies on the Jet. We see them off screen get the pistol kill, and then they get the second one, and then they kind of push in, dash. Will they be able to get this final one around the corner? I believe so, it sounds like. Fantastic pistol play by Skies, because it's all just gun mechanics at that point. And your player of the game is brought to you by the Idaho Central Credit Union, who believes a great player makes a team more successful, just like Idaho Central's helping members achieve financial success. Skies is the Idaho Central Credit Union player of the game.
Ole, 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 ole. For those of you that did watch a lot of the football or soccer, depending upon how you talk about it, you know, last year going into this, that was quite a series. And that's how I feel right now with Sky. Sky's coming in as the MVP, the player of choice. And again, we didn't get to see a lot of the op play as well. That came a little bit later in Haven, but there were some really significant turnabouts that happened there. Multi-kills out the gate, either through those long sight lines or even holding very, very narrow, just tight margins to make sure that they can get those takedowns and get an early lead for Boise State, especially with that one being a lot more close in comparison to what we saw in the second game.
And even though it was only a single kill, my personal favorite of the night was the Skies through the blind, shot with the op. That's just it doesn't matter how you play the rest of the round. You've already won. Like, no matter what happens, you hit.
You don't even have to look. You just look away. You just hit your button. I'm just doing that. I'm just hitting the button.
It's like the shooting behind you through a mirror or something and still hitting the bullseye. Fantastic. And as we prepare to kind of close out 2023, the NECC Activation Week, do you have any final thoughts before we watch our final 5 plays?
I mean, the biggest thing is, you know, those keys that Doc presents to us every time are extremely significant. I mean, making sure that you have your win. I know, right? Going to try and sprinkle that in there for Doc and what he continues to do. But, I mean, again, focusing on the angles, making sure that you watch your flanks, having that win condition always in mind. Despite how close the first game was, it still was able to be brought out by Boise. Second one, much more dominantly, playing on a map, and I think a combination of composition that really favored them. Overall, just well-rounded, and looking forward to seeing how it continues to go on for the weeks to come and how Boise State's going to fend off against their opponent.
And as we kind of go in, our top 5 plays are presented by the Idaho Army National Guard, who invites you to take your impressive critical thinking skills into real time. With more than 10 jobs offering a $20,000 bonus and your degree of choice paid for, the Idaho Army National Guard is the best team out there. Reach out to them on Twitch at iGuard Gaming. And from all of us here at Boise State, thank you for joining us again, Rick Rad, and we'll see you all later.
Leaving themselves vulnerable. Great pickup by all of them, though, making it a 2 for 2. Blinded for the moment, making it very challenging visibility-wise, but the Seekers notify where Khan is, and now it's only one that's left. They top themselves up healing-wise. The Trailblazer is very, very knowledgeable to rounded positioning. Great close encounter with the Sheriff, gets the weapon upgrade, flanking from the behind angle. 3 comes in, eliminating Boise State, but it's still a 2-2. Guiding Light gets 1, blinds it, the weaponry change, can't recover. The reload still occurring, and that's SJSU taking unplay. That's not favoring Boise, and definitely shutting down a lot of the health value onto the Killjoy. SJSU in this final segment now is making a real headway onto the point. Gets shut down in the trade despite the wall bang onto 1. Rihanna, oh, that's the spike. Could potentially get the second. Lines it up. 20 HP. The pistol is out.
As Skies rotates off, we do see the ultimate committed. J-Bag is kind of in the thick of it right now as the map blacks out.
Trailblazer gave all the intel needed for this beautiful follow-up, despite the counter with the ultimate from SJSU blinding their sight. But because there was that Trailblazer,
so is forced to fall back again and wait for, bringing Skies back. This is Boise State full force against 4 members of Simon Fraser.
The Resurrection, again, it is 1 ultimate per round. Everything that Boise State is doing strategy-wise going into this is extremely calculated.